There was a lot of potential for this episode to be great. So the question is, did it deliver? Let's take a look. Last week's episode was intense, to say the least. Rematch number 1 between Obi-Wan and Vader was everything we could have expected it to be. Kenobi hesitant and disconnected from the Force, he struggled against the vicious and unforgiving Vader. Yeah, there were some little oddities throughout the episode. However, I go into detail with all those and other videos on my channel, so make sure you check those out. But let's get into this episode here. I think going into this episode, a lot of us were truly hoping, or we're really hoping, that we would get some flashbacks to the Clone Wars with Obi-Wan and Anakin working side by side, showing their brotherhood. With Obi-Wan going into the bacta tank, that kind of made sense because he would need to heal at some point. But alas, we did not get that. Rather, we got a very quick and underwhelming conclusion to Kenobi's defeat. While he does suffer slightly from his injuries in the episode, it is hardly noticeable when it matters most later on. I was a bit shocked that not only did they discover Leia's location so quickly, but the Fortress Inquisitorius was a simple name thrown around. To me, that just seems like something that, I don't know, I just kind of think that it should have been a little, maybe a little more secret or not as like, hey, it's here type of thing. We do get O'Shea Jackson finally popping up in this. He shows up as a rebel who does almost nothing this episode. He isn't exactly living up to the claims he made on social media, but I will hold out for now that he will deliver in some way in the final 2 episodes. The infiltration of the fortress was far easier than they made it even out to be. Ben sneaking around the fortress was very reminiscent of A New Hope, even to the point where the little comm being left on the desk. However, when I think about it, it just was uninspiring. I think that's the best way to put it. This episode was uninspiring, and the more I've been thinking about it, the more I actually do enjoy this episode. But it's the things with Leia that I truly enjoy. I get things need to slow down a bit for this week, I really do, but this was a perfect opportunity for Ben to relive memories of him and Anakin. It just was, because after that face-to-face with Vader in the previous episode, that would be the next logical step in Kenobi's arc and development in this show. So it was a little disturbing that they were so quickly to just pass over that early on in the episode. I mean, it really was. It was just flashes of Kenobi seeing the previous episode. It was a little bizarre. And after some minor inconveniences while searching for Leia, they end up coming to find her pretty easily and escaping relatively easily. Like I said, I did love the stuff with Leia in this episode. It was all fantastic, and I think that is really what is pushing me to say, you know what, this episode wasn't as bad as I initially thought. When they do rescue her, like I said, they get away a lot easier than, again, they made it out like this fortress is going to be impossible to get into. They kind of made the same thing, like, oh, how are we going to escape? The escape was relatively easy. I mean, they were sneaking by, and the way they snuck by everybody was just kind of like, really? Nobody's going to say, hey, there's 4 feet under that jacket or something. It was kind of ridiculous. I did like the snow speeder, but not snow speeders, coming flying through and saving the day. I've always had a soft spot. I really like those designs for speeders. But when it comes down to it, this episode was a letdown after what we got last week. It was nothing special. When it did highlight Leia's story and her arc and even her abilities, I thought it was fantastic. I guess in a way it was about Ben slowly reconnecting to the Force, but injuries that he sustained were hardly an inconvenience for him when he was running around the fortress. The only time that you see, okay, he's struggling with the Force was when the glass was breaking and he was holding the glass back and then throwing the water or breaking the rest of the glass to get all the troopers. I think his reconnection to the Force would have worked so much better through flashbacks here, but I'm not the writer, am I, unfortunately? And I think a lot of you agree. I haven't heard much talk on social media for this episode, bad or good, which just kind of means everyone was just kind of with it, really. So as much as I've loved this show so far, this is easily the slowest and the lowest ranking out of the bunch. Moses is still killing it as Reva, absolutely. And when Vader walks in and grabs her by the Force and lifts her up, man, that's just chill-inducing. What they're doing with Vader is great, but it just seems like the overall story, it feels like they didn't put enough thought into it. But other than that, I really, really do hope that the final 2 episodes deliver. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Has this show been hitting it for you? Was this episode any good in your opinion? Let us know in the comments below. And with all that said, may the Force be with you.